So, speedball this one because it should be able to make this one short. I saw some clips at the ex-POTUS Joe Biden on View, and it looks like people are still trying to slam this dude on his cognitive ability, which, I mean, at this point, it's really not a conversation to have. If you think he don't, you don't have common sense. If you say he does, you do have common sense. That's the end of the conversation. There's nothing else to debate. But I think it's important to really, really talk about what his cognitive ability is and where he deserves credit and where he doesn't. Because a lot of people are saying he shows signs of dementia. Okay. If you know anybody with dementia, you know it presents in very distinct ways, usually in time gaps of your memory. It doesn't necessarily say or make it like you can't think or process. It just means you lose time. So my grandfather had dementia. I think he died when he was about 98. He had dementia. He just couldn't remember certain things recently. And he would often think he was in a different time period in the past. But the thing that you know about people with dementia is the parts of their memory that they do have aren't gone, and they're just as sharp as they ever were, usually. So, for example, my grandfather one time just picked up the car keys and started driving, and the only place that they could assess that he was trying to go was the job that he had 30 years prior, before he had retired. Actually, 50 years prior, before he had retired. And even another really good example is there's a video of a woman who's like in her 80s or 90s, and she was a professional ballerina when she was in her prime, and they played her music, and she still knew the choreography. She couldn't do it physically because she was like, didn't have the same muscle capacity and everything because she was in her 90s, but she still knew the choreography. I say all that to say, they had Joe Biden on The View, and they was asking him a bunch of questions. And one of the things that came up was his idea or his opinion on the Kamala Harris running for office or whatever. Now, I'm going to just precursor. I did not watch the entire interview. I will not watch the entire interview. I firmly believe that my time is worth more than watching The View, and I'm far too intelligent to waste any of my life watching The View intently. So it's never gonna happen. My daughter is 8 years old and she's too intelligent to spend time watching The View. So there's no way I'm gonna do it. But from the clips I saw of them trying to slam him, nah. Nope. Spot on. Bro was not having a bad day that day. Not in what I saw. They asked him about Kamala running, and he said he didn't understand. I'm paraphrasing. He basically said he didn't understand why they put so much focus into pulling her campaign around her being a woman of mixed race and completely ignoring the fact of her being a capable politician. I was asking this question from the beginning, and it amazed me that so many people just smooth blew past this point. Like, how endearing is it for a person to say, hey, you've done this thing your whole life, and we want to elevate you for doing this thing, but not because you're good at it, because we want you to be the first person in your demographic to do it. Like, why not just put her capabilities out there for everybody to look at and judge and say she's more qualified for XYZ reasons? They didn't do that. They said she's the better person because she's a woman who's mixed. I don't even know what her history is as a politician because they never talked about it. They never talked about her capabilities. They never talked about her qualifications. They never talked about her education. The only focus they had was she's a black or she's a mixed race woman, and she'd be the first to take office in that capacity. Bro was spot on. So, you know, say what you want about the man and his cognitive decline or whatever, but that day, he was spot on. I'm sorry.